Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Stephen Harvey. It's great to have you in on a Friday. This is maybe the biggest show of the year for us. It's the show before the Super Bowl. As always, I'm joined alongside my co-host over 2 years now, my dad, Stephen Harvey. How are you doing today on the show before the Super Bowl?
I'm excited, man. Can't wait for that Super Bowl.
I think it's over 154 days, I think it is, from the Super Bowl, from week one until Sunday.
That went by really fast.
It did go by very fast. A lot has happened this year, from amazing moments to bad refereeing to devastating injuries. The season has had a lot of ups and downs, but we're going to get to that a little bit later on in the show. Let's talk about some interesting news. So this is quite fascinating when it comes to, we've talked about this before every once in a while, and before the season started, Justin Fields had the most MVP bets. People were betting on him to win MVP at plus 2,000 over, I believe it was Herbert, Allen, and Mahomes combined, trying to cash in on plus 2,000 odds. Safe to say he was not the MVP. Congratulations to Lamar Jackson. But what was fascinating was that Adam Schefter, ESPN's Adam Schefter, went on Waddle and Sylvie on ESPN 1000 in Chicago and had to say this about Justin Fields' potential trade value.
Do you believe they would get a second-round pick for Justin Fields?
Definitely.
Definitely.
Definitely. I think they might get a one.
Ooh, really?
I do, yeah.
So Adam Schefter believes that Justin Fields is potentially worth a first-round pick. I want to know, what do you think teams, if the Bears decide to trade Justin Fields away to pick probably Caleb Williams, number one overall, what do you think teams would be willing to give up to go out and get Justin Fields? Do you think he's worth a first-round pick?
I think he's definitely a second-round pick, right? I think that's a layup. That's pretty much for sure. I mean, if they did that, they'd replace the second-round pick they gave up for Sweat when they traded with the Commanders. So they would get all their picks back. They have the number 9 pick, too, right? So they have one.
They have one
and 9, and they could trade Justin Fields for 2. But I think he might be worth more than a 2.
You think a 1 is a potential option?
Maybe he's worth 2 draft picks. Maybe a second and a fourth or something like that. But the question I have, Nate, is who is he going to go to? Who wants him? Who wants Justin Fields?
That is a great question.
For a second-round pick or a second and a fourth or a first-round pick? Or who is the team that wants Justin Fields?
Oh, well, first of all, that's a great question. When it comes to what Adam Schefter said, I don't think Justin Fields is worth a 1 at all. And I think it's debatable if he's even worth the number 2. Justin Fields' career, and let's be honest here, the Bears haven't been a great franchise, but Justin Fields has not lived up to the expectations of where he was drafted. His career record is 10-28. He doesn't win many games. His passing yards in his career is 6,000 over a 3-year span. That's not good at all. That's not good whatsoever. He has 40 touchdowns to 30 interceptions. Where I will give him credit is in a very similar way to Jalen Hurts, but not to the same extent. This year's Justin Fields is somewhat similar, pretty similar to Jalen Hurts. Now, I'm not saying that they're really that comparable because I think Jalen Hurts is a much better quarterback than Justin Fields. If you take a look at the numbers, Jalen Hurts is a little bit better. When that first year, when they got A.J. Brown, the year before he wasn't great, but they're very comparable in the sense of growth patterns. Now, they got DJ Moore year 1, or this is his first year with the Bears, so that's where I'm like, okay, we can see some growth here. The defense was terrible early in the year. They thought that they may get rid of Matt Eberflus in the offseason. He's there to stay, it seems. They got rid of their OC. So what I'm thinking is, I'm debating whether or not he's worth a 3. Because if we take a look at Trey Lance, who didn't even really sniff the field, he got a 5. He got a 5 to be the 3rd string to the Cowboys. I don't understand that whatsoever because he was asked about the trade. He said, I wanted to go to some place where I get some playing time, and he was the backup to Cooper Rush. I don't understand that whatsoever. Yeah, I don't get that.
Third string to third string.
Basically. So I'm debating whether or not he's worth a 3rd-round pick. When it comes to what teams would want him, I think the best fit for him, but I don't think they would succeed with this, is the Atlanta Falcons. Because they like the mobile sort of play style. You have Bijan Robinson, Algier. You had Cordell Patterson. You have Kyle Pitts, who's very mobile. And you also have a couple nice assets. Kyle Pitts is a pretty good pass catcher. Jonnu Smith had a decent year with them. Drake London as well, the wide receiver. They have a nice set of offensive pieces, and they're a much more mobile team that I would say than the Bears are really built to be. Bad offensive line. Justin Fields is getting killed out there. You have one really good receiver, and I like Darnell Mooney, but is he all that? I'm going to say no when it comes to that sense. So what teams, I think the best case scenario would be probably the Atlanta Falcons, would be the only team that I'm thinking. That or the Commanders maybe.
Yeah, I think the Falcons. I agree with you because the Falcons have a good running game. They have Bijan Robinson, who had a great year. I think that Justin Fields fits into that kind of running game. They can look a little bit like the Ravens. Okay. Right? They could focus on the run. Justin Fields passed the ball, but be more like Lamar before he turned into a better passer. Right? He run first, pass second.
Right.
And the Falcons, they were close to a playoff. They last game of the season knocked them out of the playoffs. They won 7 games. So I think that Fields would be an upgrade over Ritter for sure. Right? So, and if they could get him for a second round, even maybe you say maybe a third round pick, I think a third round pick's a steal for him. He did have Nate. You have his stats over his career. But
correct.
This past year, 2,600 passing yards, 16 TDs in 13 games.
Right.
Not bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
Pretty
He
good.
improved.
And he had a couple of games where he looked like a world beater. He really did.
He had a little bit of a streak where he played well. Yeah. He had 284 passing yards against Washington with 4 touchdowns, no picks. Then the next week against Denver in a loss, he threw for 335 yards on 80% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception. So he did have a couple very, very nice games. But we saw that last game against Green Bay. That was brutal to watch. It was hard to watch. He couldn't get it done whatsoever. He couldn't get it done.
Green Bay was on a roll.
Maybe that is the case. But there were too many games where fumbling issues, not great accuracy. His accuracy is not that great. 61.4% this season. Over his career, it's 60.3%. So he's barely breaking 60% completion percentage.
Something he can improve on.
The other team that I think might be interesting, but I don't know, they might go for it depending on how many quarterbacks get off the board, is the Las Vegas Raiders. Because they have their offensive line needs a little bit of work. Actually, no, 2 teams. One that I feel bad for this quarterback, and then the other one will be the Las Vegas Raiders. The team that I feel bad for their quarterback is, I don't know if you saw what Woody Johnson said at the NFL Honors about Zach Wilson. It was brutal. He literally put Zach Wilson on blast, and that's where I'm thinking that Justin Fields could go over to New York as a backup, and then he could sit behind Rodgers for 1 year or 2 years or however long Rodgers wants to be there for, and I feel horrible for Zach Wilson, and this is the reason why. So Jets owner Woody Johnson told reporters at NFL Honors that, quote, "We need a backup quarterback. We didn't have one last year."
That's terrible.
That is brutal. So my guess is Zach Wilson's going to be out of there. If you want to bring on Justin Fields as a backup to sit behind Rodgers, I think that would be perfectly fine.
And I think Justin Fields is starter quality. I really think he should be starting. I think Atlanta's the best spot for him. Maybe the Commanders. I don't know. I think that Sam Howell probably gets another chance. Oh, they're gonna draft.
They could draft one.
They're gonna draft a quarterback probably. So it'll be a fight between the rookie and Howell to see who starts. Yeah. Maybe Howell starts the first couple of games and then they put the rookie in.
That could be something, but yeah. I mean, even when Jacoby Brissett was playing well, Ron Rivera's still stuck with Sam Howell. Now he's not there anymore, so we'll need to see if Dan Quinn makes that same maybe mistake. If Jacoby Brissett were in there at that time and he was playing as well as he was with Sam Howell banged up or just playing poorly, getting benched, what will we see? I don't know.
Interesting.
I would say Raiders, Jets, Falcons.
What about Aiden O'Donnell? You don't think
Aiden O'Connell?
I think he was
a rookie last year. I don't think he's all that. He could compete for a starting job depending on who else is in the quarterback
room. Where do you think Jimmy G lands?
He's going to get released. I don't think. Definitely not the Patriots.
He might land with Atlanta.
I don't think so. I think they're going to go to a young quarterback because Atlanta, I believe, has a top.
Maybe he goes back to the pick. Patriots.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Yeah.
Even though
he's going to be cheap. You're going to be able to pick him up pretty cheap, I think.
Well, who would want him? We saw him on full display. He led the league in interceptions for when he started. It was ugly. And
Yeah,
that's with Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow. He had Jacoby Myers. He had a couple nice pieces, and Josh Jacobs in the backfield. And it was just horrible. Every time he got pressured, it was like, oh, yeah, I'm waiting for the interception.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, on the 49ers, still with a lot
I
of
think
talent,
his
better offensive
body
line.
of work for over his whole career is pretty good. I think he gets
Add a little
another
bit of
chance.
context, though. The 49ers.
He gets another
though.
chance
It's
somewhere.
the 49ers. If you have a team that has a great offensive line, you have an effective running game with Elijah Mitchell, and then a hint of Christian McCaffrey, as well as Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, Jennings. I mean, yeah, you're going to have a lot of success with that group of people. Then if you subtract yourself out of that equation and you're no longer on that team with those stack weapons, we saw what he was, especially with a bad offensive line that the Raiders have had for a number of years. He was getting pressured. He was throwing picks, even with Hunter Renfrow and Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. Still throwing intercept. It wasn't pretty. So I don't think Jimmy G has a big market. But when it comes to Justin Fields, I'm saying the 3rd round pick. I was right with Baker Mayfield. I was right with Trey Lance. And I feel good about this. You might be able to get a 3rd round pick. I said Baker would go for a 5th. I said Trey Lance is worth at most a 5th round pick. So I'm saying 3rd round pick when it comes to Justin Fields.
Wow.
Because he's shown growth.
I bet you it's higher than that.
You think it's 2nd round pick?
We'll see.
Well,
I think it's 2nd or even better, maybe.
There's no way Justin Fields is worth a 1st round pick.
Where did Atlanta
The production
pick?
isn't
Where
there.
is Atlanta's pick? What number?
Let's see. The NFL draft order for this draft starts with, if it loads for me, please.
Starts with the Bears.
Starts with the Bears, then it goes to the Commanders, then the Patriots, and the Atlanta has the 8th pick. So it's
8th pick.
It's Bears, Washington, New England, Arizona, Chargers, Giants, Titans, Falcons, and then to round out the top 10, it's Bears and Jets.
And so the 2nd round pick for the Falcons is pretty high up.
Yeah,
reasonably high up. So
what, the 40th?
Maybe that's
pick?
maybe that's it. That's his 40th pick.
You think they give up the 40th pick
Justin Fields
for Justin
sure.
Fields?
Yeah, for a quarterback that's better than what they have.
Better than what they have,
And
but might not be good enough.
Still shows flashes of being brilliant. At times.
Here's the thing: I could argue that if you go out and get a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix, that he'd be better than Justin Fields day one. Day one, you walk in the building, he's immediately better than Justin Fields. Now, same skill set? No. Even J.J. McCarthy. People are saying J.J. McCarthy would be one of the, even Jim Harbaugh even said that he's going to be, I think it's just hype for his guy, the first quarterback off the board, which isn't going to happen. But people are saying that J.J. McCarthy is a solidified 1st-round pick. And I've said on this show a number of times, I don't think so. I think he's going to be a system guy. He's going to go in there, and if the running game is good and if the system works, he'll be great.
Harbaugh said he was the best quarterback that ever played at Michigan. Tom Brady played there.
I don't believe that for a damn second, that J.J. McCarthy is going to be the first quarterback off the board. With Caleb Williams, with Drake May, although I think Drake May
There's no way he's the first quarterback off the board.
Not a chance.
Who's saying that?
Jim Harbaugh. He said that on The Herd when he went on. He said, don't be surprised if J.J. McCarthy's the first quarterback off the board.
Yeah, that's no way.
Yeah, maybe in next year's draft, not this year's draft. But, I'm saying right now, I've been 3 for 3 on predicting these trades when it comes to quarterbacks in the past 2 years. So I'm going Baker Mayfield 5th round, Trey Lance 5th round, Justin Fields lucky to get a 3rd round. Lucky to get a 3rd round.
I'm saying 2nd round.
So
and Atlanta Falcons for pick number 40. That's what I'm saying.
I could see it right now. Breaking news from Adam Schefter. Justin Fields has been traded to the New York Jets for a 3rd round pick. I could see it. I'm just telling you. I
don't think that's going to happen because Aaron Rodgers is not going to want that. Aaron Rodgers is running the team now.
He's been running every team he's been on.
Yeah. So
before he was even on the Jets, he was running the team.
Yeah. So I think that Aaron Rodgers would not want Justin Fields there. That'd make him uncomfortable. Because he has a bad game, they'll be thinking, Justin Fields. The New York media will be all over that. Yeah.
I don't know about Rodgers himself because Rodgers is not stupid. He knows he's better than
maybe Jimmy G will be the backup quarterback.
Oh God. Oh jeez. All right, we're going to switch topics here. Let's keep it up with some potential free agency news. So ESPN's Jordan Raanan, during an appearance on 98.7 ESPN Radio, said that the Giants will not tag Saquon Barkley for a 2nd time, adding, quote, "It seems like this is headed for Barkley to hit free agency." Now, remember last year, the Saquon Barkley-Giants situation, contract dispute, ultimately ended up the Giants franchise tagging him, Saquon threatening to sit out, and on day 1 of training camp, right back in the building training. Now, the franchise tag went up from, 10.9, I believe, to 11.3. So it's not a huge increase, but it is an increase nonetheless. And this ESPN reporter is saying that, nope, the Giants are looking to not tag Saquon, and he will hit free agency. I want to know, how much will the Giants regret not retaining Saquon for the 2024-2025 NFL season?
I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he won't be back with the Giants. He said he wanted to be a Giant for life. I don't think they're going to franchise tag him because I think they think that he probably doesn't command that salary. So I think they let him go free agent and they watch what happens, and maybe they jump in and bring him back on a free agent deal.
You let him walk and then sign him back.
But then sign him back
What's
on a
the
free
point of
agent
that
deal.
then? Just to prove to him
get
you're not
cheaper.
worth nothing?
You get him cheaper.
I think this is a massive mistake. If they're really not going to tag Saquon Barkley, then I think this is a huge mistake for the Giants. And I brought the numbers before. The production that Daniel Jones had when both of them were healthy playing at the same time is that Saquon Barkley's impact on the Giants offense was incredible. That 2022 season, you look at when the Giants rushed for 100 or more yards, the numbers for just Daniel Jones was very, very significant. We're talking like 74% completion percentage to 72. Passing yards was up like 120 more. Passer rating was up like 30 points. So to have Saquon out there running it effectively helps out Daniel Jones, helps the passing game, helps the entire offense. If you're going to let a guy walk who was literally your offense 2 years ago, that's a massive mistake. Now, this season, it was an entire mess, a tire fire. Waller was supposed to be an answer for the offensive side. Lo and behold, he gets hurt again. You also had Daniel Jones, neck injury, ACL tear. He's out for the year. Tyrod Taylor's quarterback. Nope. Tommy DeVito is. Oh, no, we're back to Tyrod Taylor again. Evan Neal, he was a mess this year. Andrew Thomas dealing with injuries. You had injuries all over. So this season, while Saquon didn't have the greatest season, he had actually one of the worst seasons he had. I just think the Giants were a tire fire this year, as expected, because last year I said it. It's an anomaly. People were saying, oh, Daniel Jones, top 10 quarterback. Not in a billion years was Daniel Jones, or will Daniel Jones ever be a top 10 quarterback. So to have that type of a running back on the free agent market, I think shows that, I don't know if they're going for another rebuild, but they may be headed that way. Also because the Giants haven't given up on Daniel Jones. And I saw something recently where they said that he's probably the week 1 starter.
Yeah.
What?
I think so.
What?
Who else would they start?
Draft the damn quarterback. That's what I would do. You have the 6th pick in the draft.
Yeah.
So if the mock drafts are correct and we go in order, Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels to the Bears, Commanders, Patriots. That means you have the opportunity to go get Penix, you have J.J. McCarthy, and you also have Bo Nix. So that means you have.
So they probably will draft a quarterback.
You could also get Neighbors as well.
No, you got Tommy DeVito.
Oh God! I mean, he had flashes, but then the last game
People
he played
love
was
him too.
Against the Eagles, it didn't look too good. You bring in Tyrod Taylor, he almost makes a tremendous comeback. But we have 76 days until the draft. If the Giants want to stick with Daniel Jones, full respect, they're idiots. Because what is Daniel Jones regressed after getting paid? You gave him a contract that made no sense. The best player in your team, basically, you made him resent you because you didn't pay him the money he was deserving. And now all of a sudden you're saying, yeah, we're going to get rid of him. Like, this is why New York sports suck. The Jets have been sucking for years. They have the longest playoff drought in the 4 major sports. The Giants haven't been relevant since like 2016. I think that was the last time they made the playoffs. So, and besides the Bills, the Bills are like they were bad for a number of years, found some stability with Josh Allen, and still are pretty disappointing in the playoffs. So I'm saying that it's not a good look for the Giants. I feel bad for Saquon Barkley because he is that offense, and I think Joe Shane and that entire organization is making a massive mistake. They already made it with the contract. How about pay the damn dude?
Well,
pay him $12 million a year.
Yeah, well,
it's
you might be right.
It's $700,000 higher than the franchise
You might be right.
tag.
I mean, he has been a good performer for them when he's been healthy. I think that they risk, if they let him go free agency, thinking that the price tag's going to drop, I'm pretty sure he's going to wind up in Dallas.
I'm going to say the Chargers because that's the report. Jim Harbaugh. Think about what Jim Harbaugh's offense was in Michigan this year. Hard, heavy nose defense and ground and pound. Blake Corum was a massive factor in the national championship game.
They're probably going to draft him.
I'm thinking they may draft him, but reportedly the eyes are on Saquon Barkley. And if you can get Saquon behind that offensive line with that quarterback and with those weapons, that's going to be a top 7 offense in the league, top 6, 7 offense in the league. And then on top of that, better coaching on defense. I'm telling you right now.
In Dallas. Dallas knows they need another running back, and I think Saquon is going to be the best free agent one out there.
I think Dallas can go for a bigger name. I was going to say Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Or I mean, if we're talking more of the ground and pound, I think Derrick Henry fits that mold better because he's a massive guy. So I think maybe Derrick Henry can go to the Chargers if they're willing to pay him. But the Chargers with salary cap issues, they have like the 3rd or 4th worst salary cap situation in the NFL.
I would say Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley either at Chargers or Dallas. Those two running backs will be with one of those 2 teams.
They're not going to re-sign with their teams. Tell you that right now. I don't think it's a chance. Unless the Giants decide to pay him and says, you know what, we'll pay you $12, $13 million a year. Then I'll be like, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. Other than that, if they're saying, we're only open to franchise tagging you or re-signing you with the cheap in free agency, I say Saquon, go to any other team. Even if they pay you the same, go to any other team.
I wouldn't say it's impossible that the Giants put the franchise tag on him because Renan, he said, based on what I've seen and heard publicly. Well, where else did we hear that publicly? I didn't hear anything about it publicly except from him.
What? That
Saquon
won't be tagged?
He said he didn't say he heard that in a private source. So where else did we see that publicly? I didn't see it publicly, just from him. So I think it's just hype.
You think it's hype?
I think there's a lot of hype to
BS
it. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't franchise tag him because I think they would try to see if they could pick him up cheaper in free agency. But I think there's some hype to that this guy, out there.
And what that would be to make Giants Nation angry at ownership, to pressure them to
just to get some just get something out there in the media. It's just to get people like us talking about it.
Hey, I'm completely open to talking about this because if this is the case and this Jordan Raanan guy, if I'm even pronouncing his name right, if he is serious, if he's heard this from somebody, then somebody who knows the situation, it's not gonna be pretty for the Giants because unless they go out and draft a running back and he hits, day one basically, it's gonna be Daniel Jones and having him throw the ball, and that's ugly, especially with that offensive line and those weapons. That is an ugly situation. So if this is true and they're gonna let Saquon
I'm interested
go,
to see where
it's not gonna be good.
Where Barkley winds up and where
Derrick Henry
winds up, right?
Yeah.
I could see Derrick Henry going to a number of different teams.
Absolutely. I think he's going to have a massive market.
Yeah.
I also think if Saquon hits the open market, he will too. I say at least half the league will call both of those running backs and figure out, what their futures look like.
What kind of money do you think Derrick Henry would command?
I don't know if SpotRec gave out the market value of some of these players, but if I had to take a guess, Derrick Henry, who currently, I'm going to look up how old he is. Saquon right now is 27 years old. Today is his birthday, actually. So happy birthday to Saquon Barkley. Derrick Henry is currently, if I'm not mistaken, he's 30 years old. So he's on the older side. He's made it farther than a decent amount of running backs have made it, especially, with contract issues and everything like that. I think if he's a 30-year-old running back, I could probably see him signing a 2-year, $16 million contract, so $8 million a year.
Really? That cheap?
That cheap. He's 30 years old. He's 30 years old.
He's been one of the elite running backs, and he's durable. I don't think he wasn't hurt last year. He just had the terrible offensive line.
Well, this is what SpotRight gives for an estimation. 1 year, $4.3 million a year. So I'm on the generous. I've doubled that.
That's amazing.
What do you think he's worth? You gonna give him $12 million a year?
I would think maybe 10. I would think he'd get 10.
10 million? I said 8. That's not that
I agree with 2 years. But I would think he might get 10 million. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess. So.
Yeah, he's 30 years old.
Yeah.
30. Now, other running backs to the home market, like Josh Jacobs, SpotRec has him at 10.6. Saquon Barkley have him at 9.9.
Yeah. Well, that's cheaping the franchise tag, so maybe I'm right about that on the Giants.
They may sign him, and the market value contract that they broke down was 3 years, basically $30 million a year. So 3-year deal, you bring him up to 30 years old. So there you go.
30 million a year.
Yeah,
No,
3 years.
10
years.
million a year.
Yeah, so it's 29.9. So
Okay.
that's
for
what
3
the
years.
Yeah, 3
so
years.
It's not 30 million a year. It's 30
Oh,
million
so I'm
for
sorry.
3
Yeah,
years.
I'm sorry. So that makes sense for a 27-year-old running back. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Saquon Barkley potentially hitting the open market. It's going to be bad for the Giants if they actually let that happen. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but coming up, Netflix and the Boston Red Sox have agreed to do sort of a NFL quarterback and Hard Knocks docuseries that goes throughout the entire 2024 MLB season. And also, they're making a documentary on the 2004 Red Sox, which ended a very long streak of the Red Sox unable to win the World Series. Also, we make our Super Bowl predictions, which that's going to be interesting. But first, a word from NordVPN. Are you tired of compromising your online privacy and security? Look no further than NordVPN, the leading name in digital protection. With NordVPN, you can browse the web with confidence, knowing your data is shielded from prying eyes. With thousands of servers worldwide, NordVPN offers lightning-fast connections, allowing you to stream, download, and browse without restrictions. Plus, their cutting-edge encryption ensures your sensitive information remains private, whether you're at home or on the go. Here's an exclusive offer you don't want to miss. If you join today with the link down below and sign up for one of their 3 2-year plans, Nord will give you up to 64% off, as well as a free Uber Eats voucher with no additional cost to you. But act fast, this Uber Eats voucher only remains until March 20th. Plus, if you're unsatisfied, Nord does offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Join the millions of people, including myself, who trust NordVPN and experience the internet the way it was meant to be, safe and secure. So don't miss out on this limited time offer. Like I say, click the link down below to get up to 64% off and a free Uber Eats voucher. The Harvey Hour will be back after this short break.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you here on the show before the Super Bowl. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. It's great to have you in on this Friday. Let's get into our next topic, which is the Boston Red Sox. This is shocking. So Netflix is deciding to do a 2 video projects. One that's a documentary on the 2004 Red Sox. Going to be interviewing a lot of people involved with that. And also, simultaneously, they'll also be doing a docuseries on the 2024 Boston Red Sox, going throughout the season, behind-the-scenes interviews, behind-the-scenes moments that you can't find anywhere else, and that's projected to debut in 2025, while the documentary will be released later this year. I want to know, what are your expectations for both the documentary and the docuseries? Let's start with the documentary. What are your expectations for the 2004 Boston Red Sox documentary?
I'm looking forward to that. I'm a lifelong Red Sox fan. That season, the 2004 season, was a special one for sure. I mean, Red Sox hadn't won the World Series since 1918. Every time they went to Yankee Stadium, the chants were 1918, 1918, 1918. It was sickening. They put that to rest. The curse of the Bambino was broken, and the Red Sox went on after being down 3-0, which was the lowest of lows for Red Sox fans, to the New York Yankees and the ALCS,
Right.
to the highest of highs, winning 4 in a row to take the ALCS, and then 4 in a row against the St. Louis Cardinals to win the World Series. It was an amazing, amazing run, and it was historic, and I'll never forget it. I watched every game. I was in those playoffs. I was totally exhausted. Most of the games were on weeknights, and I was up till 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. After they'd win, I'd watch the post game, and I was just exhausted after it was all over. And I wound up going to the parade that year, which was a lot of fun. And they had the duck boats. And they were out in the water. Boston was like wild. It was amazing. There was tons of people. I'd never seen anything quite like it. So I'm looking forward to that docuseries. I'm the documentary part of it. I think that will be really fun to watch. The docuseries, on the other hand, I think that might be rough because I don't think the Red Sox got much this year. They were in last place last year. They had a couple of streaks where they put together some wins, and then they fell apart. They had no pitching, as usual. It was hard to watch, and we have the MLB ticket there, so we get to watch all the out of market games, and the Red Sox are one of those for us. So I watched a lot of the games, but boy, they were tough to watch. And I thought Alex Cora was going to be fired. Shane Bloom did get fired.
He did.
And bringing back Theo Epstein's crowd, and Theo Epstein's actually back with the Red Sox now, which is I think a positive for them. He did very well with the Cubs. He got the Cubs to a World Series and a win, which hadn't happened in even longer than the Red Sox. So having him back, I think, is a plus. But, watching them, having this like a Hard Knocks series, which shows the character of the players and what they go through to prepare and to play and to recover from injuries. And I know it's a grind in baseball, and that's very hard. So that part of it will be interesting. But whether they're going to be competitive or not, I would have the under on that.
I'm going to completely agree with you. When it comes to docuseries, the first time, at least for me, just based on my age, that I get to see, that side of it. Because I was, 2 years old when they won it? I was turning 2 at the time. So obviously I didn't know baseball. I wasn't watching baseball. So that from my perspective, that's going to be the interesting part of it, because they won that year. This year would be the 20th anniversary of that year, which I assume that's one of the motives for doing this documentary, is the 20th anniversary of breaking that 1918 curse. But I'm going to completely agree with you. Why did they pick the Red Sox for 2024? Is it just because of the 20 years that, oh my God, what if this is another historic season where the Red Sox, when they're down and out, they somehow come back and win it all? My guess would be no.
Maybe the team and Alex Cora, who is a big advocate for this, is thinking, if the bright lights are shining on them, the cameras are on them, maybe it will embarrass them into winning.
Or demoralize them into all leaving. I mean, they signed Devers to a massive contract, respectfully, and then you let Xander Bogaerts go. He had a down year with the Padres. Pitching has been horrible for years. I mean, you're not making a lot of moves after promising to spend a lot of money in free agency. John Henry's like, yeah, no, we're going to stop it here. We're just going to basically end all free agency for us. It's like, no, the Red Sox still a broken team. Last in the AL East, you're still about, like, if we're talking about talent-wise, they're not better than the Yankees. The Orioles have the best farm system in the MLB. The Rays have still been, great for a number of years. Wow. The Blue Jays remain consistent. So how can you, let alone win a World Series or win a playoff game, how about win your own division?
Arguably, they're worse than they were last year, right? They had Justin Turner last year. They don't have him. He had a good year, right?
He had a great year.
Adam Duvall.
He's gone.
He's gone. How come they didn't re-sign him? I mean, he's
injury concern probably.
Well, I mean, when he's healthy out there, he's hitting a home run almost every game.
Right.
He closed out the season. He looked really great. Where did he go? I wonder.
He's not on a team right now.
He's not on a team.
We talked about this a month ago or something like that.
Maybe he still have a chance to pick him up. I don't know.
You got Trevor Story, although he also has injury concerns.
Trevor Story so far has been a boss. A boss.
Was it 6-year contract?
Injuries, can't hit.
Yeah.
Not even the greatest fielder out there. He's been a boss for them. They spent a lot of money for him. Haven't got anything in return, really. And even Devers, he's a streak hitter. I mean, he gets up there and he gets pumped up. He gets these wild swings. When he connects, it goes out, and he usually winds up with decent stats. But he can't field. He's got an iron glove over there.
Devers has a very tough time fielding.
Maybe he should be the DH. I don't know. Maybe they should, or move him to first base. I think, they have what's his name at first base?
Cassis. Yeah, he had a great year last year.
He did have a very good year. Second half, he was one of the best players in baseball. So we'll see.
Unless you want Bobby Dahlbeck, who according to MLB.com is the backup third baseman, who sat in AAA the entire year, basically.
I can't believe Bobby Dahlbeck is still with the Red Sox.
He had a good start, or he had a decent start. Last season, he was horrible. He was horrible last year.
Yeah, the year before.
The year before that, he wasn't bad.
He was good in the second half. First half, he's terrible.
Yeah.
And the second half, he caught fire a little bit and hit some home runs. But I just don't see it. They've given him so many chances, and he really is not. He doesn't really progress the way you expect.
Not at all. Yeah, a couple years ago, he was great. He started off great. He had 23 games in his rookie year, batted .263 with 8 home runs. It's not bad. That's not bad.
The COVID year.
Yeah, and then the following year after that, he had 133 games, batted .240 with 25 home runs.
Yeah.
And since then, you cut the home runs in half.
Downhill.
And then it's been horrible. So, yeah, the docuseries is going to be a little bit rough. I don't think, unless there's an amazing,
amazing run that's totally unexpected, and they're because the bright lights are on them, they step up and actually really give it their all, and maybe they're competitive. But how are they going to beat the Yankees? I mean, the Yankees are loaded up. They have Sosa now.
Like, if the Red Sox have a run like they did back in 2021 with Kike Hernandez hitting bombs in the playoffs and Kyle Schwarber hitting bombs in them, if they have a run like that, which with this team it's very unlikely, I'm being real Netflix, I think they screwed up.
You just mentioned the player they should have hung on to, Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
Right? Look at how well he's done with the Phillies and how many home runs he's hit.
Yeah.
His batting average is horrible, but when he connects, it goes out.
Right.
So he'd be the player to have. They're the team that has had a power outage for quite some time now, and they need that power. And now they don't have Adam Duvall, who hit over 20 home runs last year. All they have at their power hitter is Devers.
Yeah.
They don't have Justin Turner, who hit some home runs. Right. They're going to have any home. They're going to be a power outage again.
Yeah.
And put that together with no pitching and lousy defense, which they haven't played good defense for several years. And Devers, is going to make a bunch of errors. Trevor Story is not that great. It's short. It could be a long season. And this docuseries, it doesn't come out until 2025.
So for all we know,
wait the whole season. They do this all season.
We know it ends.
And then you don't find out what it's about until after the season's over. And it may be the last place team that they did it for.
Right, so for all
it could be a bust.
Yeah, for all we know, Netflix might drop the series just because if the Red Sox win 60 games, how is it going to be interesting?
I know.
It's like the Jets. The Hard Knocks with the Jets was not great. Besides, it was the preseason that was great. The hype around it is Dalvin Cook coming to the Jets, Aaron Rodgers practicing, and then the Jets actually start playing. And it's like, it got boring again. So I think the docuseries is going to be a little bit rough. That documentary, I feel like that's going to be really, really fascinating just because of the historical context of it. 20th anniversary is probably why they did it. I'm sure David Ortiz will be a massive part of it. If Manny Ramirez wants to be a part of that too, it would be great to see him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think the series could be good. It's time.
Should we do the NFL honors block first and then finish with the Super Bowl?
No, I say we jump into the Super Bowl.
All right.
Just because
can't wait. Huh?
That's what the people want to see. That's what people have been waiting for. It's been 5 months of NFL action we've seen, and now it is finally time to make our Super Bowl predictions. Brock Purdy, second year in the league, first Super Bowl appearance, while Mahomes, fourth Super Bowl appearance in 5 years. He's 2-1 in the Super Bowl. It is now time to make our Super Bowl predictions. Each of these teams have come a very, very far way. We saw Brock Purdy have a little bit of a rough patch middle of the year, and in the playoffs, the 49ers have not looked the best. The Lions have outplayed them in the first half, and the Packers outplayed them in basically all up until one drive, which was the last drive where Purdy drove down and scored in order to defeat the Green Bay Packers, and then picked off Jordan Love to seal that game. While Mahomes, people counted the Chiefs out the entire year, including us, who thought they could be one and done, although when we heard they were going to play Miami, we assumed that maybe after they'd be done, but They made the Super Bowl again. So both these teams have come a very, very long way. Let's start with this. In order for the Chiefs to win, we're not going to make our picks just right now. In order for the Chiefs to win, what do they need to do to stop the 49ers from somehow taking a lead in this game and sealing it and giving Purdy the win? What do the Chiefs have to do?
The Chiefs have to disrupt Brock Purdy. That's the number one thing that will help them go on to victory. And by doing that, they've got to pressure the pocket. And when Brock Purdy is pressured in the pocket, particularly when you get to his front foot, he throws the ball inaccurately. And so that's what the Chiefs also, in addition to getting in the pocket and pressuring Brock Purdy's front foot, they got to put their hands up. Because if they get their hands up, that's an issue for Brock Purdy as well. So I think that's the number one thing they got to do. They got to disrupt Purdy, keep him out of a rhythm, and I think that will play well for them. That's the number one thing.
Okay. So for me, when it comes to how the Chiefs can win,
that's on defense. I didn't get to the offensive side.
So you want to do the offense? Or?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
go to the offense.
On offense, Mahomes. Mahomes to Kelsey.
As simple as that, huh?
It's as simple as that. If Mahomes has the kind of game that he's had every game in the playoffs so far this year, then I see the Chiefs being very hard to beat. He's a player that can improvise. He can take a play that looks like it's going nowhere and broken, and he's going to get sacked, and somehow he slips away, scrambles around, looks downfield, sees the open receiver, hits them, or takes off running and picks up the first down. I just see he's the key on offense for sure. And they're going to have something special for Kelsey. As Belichick always did, my Patriots sweatshirt here, take away the team's best option, right? Well, I think the best option is Kelsey. So they have to find a way to take him out of the game, which some teams were able to do this past year. There were some games where you didn't hear much from Kelsey. So it is possible to do it. Whether the 49ers can do it or not remains to be seen. So
for me, first of all, I'm going to give props to the Chiefs for getting this far. We really thought with the drop issues, Kadarius Toney issues, spotty run game, although I think Pacheco had a good year overall, they haven't looked like the same team. The defense has been the main story for the Chiefs, and that's where it starts off for me. So the first thing would be, and I agree with you, is the pass rush needs to get to Brock Purdy. We saw what that pass rush did against Lamar Jackson. They blitzed him 43% of the time. And Lamar Jackson was looking, couldn't find an open guy. Instead of taking off, he stayed in the pocket. So if you can somehow pressure Brock Purdy, which then leads to Brock Purdy making mistakes, and especially causing mistakes in crucial areas, like in their own territory, which gives you less than half a field to go out and score a touchdown or at least a field goal, or in the red zone, which he did against the Ravens in the regular season, where Purdy was throwing picks every which way, threw 4 in the game, especially the first one, when they were driving, he threw it in the red zone. If you could do that, that's easy points for the Chiefs. And I think Mahomes is one of those quarterbacks where if his defense turns the ball over, oh yeah, Mahomes is going to score at least a touchdown on that. Those are not going to go, empty turnovers there. He's going to go up and put up some points. What's a little bit shocking and what I think the Chiefs need to capitalize on is the fact that this 49ers defense, we saw in 2 playoff games this season that they can get got, and especially running the football. We saw David Montgomery, even Jameson Williams, as well as Jahmyr Gibbs, especially in that first half. Explosive runs, getting the first downs. I think Jameson Williams had a 43-yard touchdown run. He was fumbling all the way to the end zone. Couldn't bring him down. And I think that's where the Chiefs need to start with. You got to run the offense through Pacheco. You control the clock. You control how many first downs you get, and especially you keep Brock Purdy and this dynamic offense that the 49ers have off the field. They have much more talent on the offensive side than they do the defensive side. It's close, but I think the 49ers are much better offensively with talent than they are defensively. So if you keep that offense off the field with Pacheco controlling the clock, and then you could just dink and dunk with Mahomes to Kelsey over again, like you said, I think the Chiefs are going to win this game pretty handily. What also needs to happen is something that has been happening in the playoffs for Mahomes for about 3 years now, 2 years. It's the lack of turnovers in the playoffs. The last time Mahomes threw an interception in the playoffs was the horrible game against Cincinnati where they lost 24-27 in the, I believe it was the AFC Championship game, where the last throw we saw was a Hail Mary to the left side to Tyreek Hill, which I think it was Jesse Bates who picked it off in overtime against the Cincinnati Bengals, which then they moved on to the Super Bowl and lost. But Mahomes hasn't been turning the ball over. So if he continues to play efficient football without any turnovers, that's how the Chiefs could win. And not only that, the last point I'm going to make about how the Chiefs could win is the fact that they got hot at exactly the right time. We thought on the show, and many other people thought, that this was not a Super Bowl roster, especially with a significant deficit in the wide receiver position, whether it be drops, not great route runners, just bad play overall, Mahomes not trusting his guys, interceptions. The one part that people were majorly concerned about was the wide receiver core, amongst also the offensive line wasn't all that great this year, especially with Juwan Taylor and Donovan Smith as your offensive tackles. But once it hit playoff time, you froze the Dolphins, then you beat the Bills as you normally do in the playoffs, and then you shocked the world by stopping Lamar Jackson, the MVP Lamar Jackson, and the defense stepped up by only allowing them to 10 points and also a turnover. So, or I think it was actually 3 turnovers, if I'm not mistaken. So, if the Chiefs can simply just play their game the way they've been playing it in the postseason when they got hot, Kelsey looks like he did last year and the years prior. This entire season you look down, but if the Chiefs just play their style of football, there's a very, very good chance they could win. Now let's go with the 49ers side of the ball. What can the 49ers do to stop the Chiefs and Mahomes from getting their 4th Super Bowl in 5 years?
They have to play better defense. They have to have their best defensive game of the year, really, I think. I think the Chiefs have been playing better defense than the 49ers recently, particularly in the playoffs. Look how many points the 49ers have given up to teams that they're much better than, really, right? I mean, the 49ers are a better team than Green Bay. The 49ers are a better team than the Lions. To beat the Packers, it came down to a final drive by the Packers with an interception, right? With less than a minute left. The Packers, all they had to do was get a field goal. They could have sent it into overtime. The 49ers are a better team than the Packers. To have that game that close was a little bit of a surprise to people. The Lions game, any other game, 24-7, except maybe the Patriots Atlanta Super Bowl, is going to wind up with the 49ers losing that game. The Lions, I'm sure they're still thinking about that, and I'm sure Dan Gamble is thinking about that as well.
Absolutely.
Should never have happened. The Lions should have been in the Super Bowl here. So I think the 49ers, to beat the Chiefs, have got to control Mahomes, which I don't think they'll be able to do. They have to take away his number one option, which is Kelsey, which I think they have a chance to do. I think that they've got to keep Mahomes off the field. So I think the best way to do that is on offense, long, sustained drives with the running game. And they should be able to have some success there because they have the best offensive player in the league in CMC. And they have actually 2 players that are positionless. CMC can play wide receiver. He can play running back. They have Debo, who can do either running back or wide receiver, right? So they've got to control the offensive tempo of the game, get into a rhythm, have long, sustained drives to keep Mahomes off the field. And when they get down in the red zone, they got to score a touchdown. It can't be just field goals if they want to win. So that's my analysis, Nate.
So that's how the 49ers could win.
That's how the 49ers could win.
I would say for the 49ers to win, and if we take a look at all their losses so far, it's been Brock Purdy turning the ball over. And that's why I said the Chiefs, if they have an opportunity, you got to force Purdy into some turnovers. And not only that, you have to get into his head. Now, he threw a horrible interception against the Lions, but the Lions' defense we knew was inferior. Now, the way the game turned out, that Darnell Savage interception against the Packers, that would have been pick 6. I think the Packers would have won that game because the entire game, Purdy was not playing well. The Lions' defense could get got, while the Packers' defense had a little bit more success throughout the year. And especially in that game, the way that game was looking out to be with, a little bit of a mist that really hurt Purdy throwing the football, the way that game turned out to be, that if that was pick six and he had that other interception that was like thrown into triple coverage, the Packers probably would have won that game. I think you need to get into his head. And for the 49ers to win this game, they need to play controlled football. They have the offensive player of the year in Christian McCaffrey, which it's crazily enough, if you think about it, I have the number here. And we talked about who deserves to be the MVP. Well, the Associated Press voters spoke. And while Lamar Jackson did win MVP, Christian McCaffrey got more second-place votes for the MVP than Brock Purdy got second and third place combined. So the voters knew who was the more valuable player on that team, like I've been speaking. And Christian McCaffrey will be the X factor in this game if the 49ers are willing to, if they're willing to, come out and Brock Purdy's going to hoist the trophy. And what I think may happen is if Christian McCaffrey has the same game he's been having throughout the season, I think he has a really good shot at winning Super Bowl MVP. So if there are already prop bets on Super Bowl MVP, I would pick Kelsey and I'd pick CMC to win it. I wouldn't pick Purdy, maybe Mahomes. If the Chiefs win, it would be Mahomes and Kelsey. If the 49ers win it, I think CMC would be the first option because the way that he's been playing, I mean, you got to think about giving it to a position player, which hasn't happened in a very, very long time.
21 touchdowns this year.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
He had 17 straight games of scoring.
I think he had 2,000 yards of total offense, right?
I think he had well over 2,000 yards of offense. So for me, it's Christian McCaffrey has to be the X factor, and I agree with you. The defense. Mahomes, like I said, Mahomes hasn't thrown an interception in a game since the AFC Championship game against the Cincinnati Bengals back in January 30th of 2022. So it's been 2 years since he threw a playoff interception. You got to get him back. And this is where it's very, very fascinating. And these are some of the numbers here that I have. And this is, actually, CMC and making Mahomes turn over the ball. Those are the only two things that I think is going to be important here. Make Mahomes uncomfortable. Because what we've seen is he likes to dance around the pocket when the pocket he thinks is breaking down. You got to put a spy on him. You got to put a spy, whether that's Dre Greenlaw, whether that's Burks. I think Fred Warner needs to cover Travis Kelce. You need a big guy who could just stay on him. Levante David did a pretty good job in the Bucs. Now I understand the offensive line for the Chiefs was decimated, but while Kelce did have, I think, 133 yards, it was ineffective. Completely ineffective. I think you need a big body on Kelce, up on the line, try to press him, and don't let him try your best, not to hold their illegal contact, but make him ineffective, which is incredibly difficult, and we've really never seen Kelce be ineffective. So my main thing would be on offense, feed CMC. Feed him the ball. We're talking like 25 carries or at least 25 touches with the football. He needs to be your best guy. Now, screw the injury history. Lay it out all out on the line right here.
This is it.
This is literally the end of the season. Then you have a number of months off where you can relax and enjoy, off-season life. And besides, you get a Super Bowl ring to go along with it.
Do you think CMC might throw a pass in this game?
There's a prop bet for over 2.5 players still on the ball. So anyone else but the quarterback, and I think that's plus 700. I think.
Oh yeah.
Or it might be plus 170. I don't know the exact number, but it wouldn't surprise me. So I think it's time to get into our picks.
Well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Before we get into our picks, do you think it will feel like an upset if the Chiefs win the game?
No, because I think they should be favored just based on the run they had and the way if we honestly take a look at how they got here in the playoffs alone, I think really the Chiefs deserve to be favored by maybe 1.5 points or maybe -1 like the Eagles were last year.
But how about the fact that Joe Thuney's not going to play? Do you think that's a fact?
That definitely hurts the Chiefs. I think if Joe Thuney was in and, Kelce didn't have the regular season he had and the receivers weren't absolute garbage, I'd say the Chiefs probably could be favored by 2.
Yeah.
2 or 1.5. So yeah, let's get into the picks.
Okay.
So you're gonna start us off here. So let's bring up the premier graphic again. Super Bowl 58, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, Nevada. Chiefs, 49ers for you. Who takes home the Lombardi Trophy? The San Francisco 49ers or the Kansas City Chiefs?
When it's a Super Bowl, the heart of the player, the soul of the team, make all the difference in the world. The team that's best prepared, the team that has the experience, that's been there before, has the edge. I'm picking the Chiefs 24-21.
This is massive. Massive for you. So you got the Chiefs. Mahomes gets his third Lombardi trophy in 4 tries. Wow. Okay. Now I'm gonna do a little something here. I'm gonna be honest, and I think we all need to be honest. You're always honest, but there's one graphic here, or 2 graphics here that I think is very, very fascinating to look at, because while we all understand Mahomes is great, and I think we have to understand Mahomes is great, and everyone knows Mahomes is great, he's in the GOAT conversation, we have to take a look at this graphic here. In the playoffs, Mahomes is phenomenal. 12-2 record. This is excluding Super Bowls. 12-2 record. 68% completion percentage. If you round it up, it's 69% completion percentage. 311.2 yards. 34 touchdowns. 3 picks. 8 yards an attempt. And a pass rating of 104.2. But what's shocking is when the lights are absolutely the brightest, when it's at the peak of the NFL season, Super Bowl Sunday, Mahomes, we have to be honest here, has come up pretty small. 2-1 record. A 64% completion percentage. That's a drop off of 4%. 246 passing yards a game. That's basically 50 yards. Or no, wait, that's 70-yard drop off. 30. You have 5 touchdowns to 4 picks. Sample size is a little bit smaller, but the touchdown to interception ratio is much worse. Yards per attempt is 6.3, and a passer rating, which drops off by basically 20 at 87.4. So Mahomes in the Super Bowl is not great. Really not great. I think we could all understand. While Mahomes did have 3 touchdowns in last year's Super Bowl, as well as, he only had like 190 yards, if I'm not mistaken. He didn't have that many passing yards, and I think we all need to agree, Jalen Hurts was the better quarterback on the field at that given time in the Super Bowl. Now, this season, it's a different story. You probably say Mahomes was a little bit better when it's all said and done. But can Purdy outplay Mahomes just enough to win the Super Bowl? I'm saying yeah. I got 49ers winning 27-22. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, solidifies Mr. Relevancy and wins Super Bowl 58. Second-year player, wins the Super Bowl. One of, I believe, only 4 quarterbacks or 3 quarterbacks to win in their second year starting. I got Brock Purdy, and I've criticized Purdy. Or not criticized. Tried.
Criticize?
I was bringing some context to it because the voters said CMC was more valuable based on the voting. He had more second-place votes than Brock Purdy at second and third place combined.
We're talking MVP, but you criticized him a lot during the season when he had that 3-game stretch.
Yeah, 3-game stretch.
You were very hard on
because
him.
he was the reason they lost.
Okay, so
it's like 3 touchdowns to 11 turnovers.
I mean,
in every
look who he's going
losses.
against. He's going against one of the greatest quarterbacks.
I understand.
He's going to become
I fully understand.
One of the greatest quarterbacks who's out there to make his legacy, having 3 Super Bowl rings. Right?
Yeah.
He's going against the second-year quarterback who, for all of his career so far, has been called Mr. Irrelevant. So I am surprised you picked him. I'm very surprised, actually. I thought you would pick the
I don't
Chiefs.
feel good about it because picking against Mahomes is like picking against Brady. You don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I also think the Chiefs season this year is a lot like the Patriots season in 2018.
People are saying that it's exactly like that. Really
exactly
great
like
defense.
that.
The offense has dropped a little bit.
Yeah.
But when
and
it hit
then
the playoffs,
offense
took off.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. And let's do this experiment. Let's take the skill position. So let's just take the receivers. Swap them. So Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, Justin Watson are on the 49ers. Debo, Ayuk, Jennings are on the Kansas City Chiefs. You get to keep the tight end. So Kittle remains on the 49ers. Kelsey remains on the Chiefs. Chiefs by minus 13. Chiefs by minus 13-14.
I don't think
breaks the Baltimore Colts minus 18.5.
No, I don't think so.
So if,
you know why
if just
I
the
say
receiver
that?
corps switch.
You know why I say that? Because the the Chiefs receivers in the playoffs have been very good, right? Rashee Rice has been really a standout player.
I'll give you that.
Very good. And Kelsey's played great too.
Kelsey has stepped up.
So you got those 2 guys. I think Scantling, what's his name?
Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Yeah,
he's played a little bit better too. He's been hanging on to the ball. So I think the Chiefs, while we criticize the receivers all season long, all the drops and the mistakes and the offsides when they could have won a game. And, Tony is not going to be, is he? I don't think he's even active, right? They've given up on him.
Well, I don't think he's inactive, but yes, it's not looking good for his.
I think that I don't think it's that big. I think it would affect the point spread if you swap those receivers, but I don't think it would be that much.
I want to talk about this when it comes to the 49ers. I want to solidify why I picked them because you said you were shocked. So let's start with this one. So Steve Spag's defensive coordinator-wise has been one of the best DCs in the league. He loves to blitz, and we saw what he did against Lamar Jackson. He blitzed him basically 44% of the time. Answer this question. Who's the number one quarterback against the blitz?
Number one quarterback against the blitz must be Brock Purdy.
It's Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is the best quarterback when it comes to handling the blitz. So the Ravens, they decided to do man defense in the second half against the Chiefs. Shut them down in the second half. Shut them down. But the Chiefs did just enough offensively, and they maintained the defensive prowess to solidify that game, so they're in the Super Bowl. What I also think will happen is Kyle Shanahan will not start the backup running back over his starter like Todd Monken did with Justice Hill and Gus Edwards, and not only that, abandon what they've been known for since Lamar Jackson got there and abandoning the run, and run it 6 times in a single game. That blew my mind why they just said, we're going to make Lamar Jackson, we're going to showcase the new Lamar Jackson where he throws it a bunch of times instead of sticking with what works and then running the football. So I don't think Kyle Shanahan is just going to abandon the run. I don't think he's going to start Elijah Mitchell over CMC for Lord knows what reason, and I guarantee you he's not going to run it 6 times in the entire game. And like we mentioned before, the 49ers skill position players, or just players overall, you list the top 10 on each team, I think there's more 49ers than there are Chiefs. The 49ers defensive front, you say the front 7, it's better than the Chiefs. Linebackers all across the board better than the Chiefs. Chris Jones, Nick Bosa, you could argue who wins there. You also have Eric Armstead, Dre Greenlaw. You got pieces. You talk about L'Jarius Sneed versus Charvarius Ward, 2 very good quarterbacks. You have Trent McDuffie, who had a phenomenal year this year. And yeah, how about this one? The Chiefs. And then this is a crazy number. The Chiefs and the 49ers. There's one number that is very important in this game, and it's the number 20. The Chiefs are 16-0 since 2022 when allowing below 20 points. The 49ers, since Purdy got there, are 20-0 when they score 20 points or more. So that magic number is 20 for both teams if they want to win this game. So I'm saying 49ers, if you get to 20, based on the numbers, they are undefeated when they hit the 20-point threshold since Purdy got there. So
that's excellent analysis, Nate. You've got a lot of good points there.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this, though.
Yeah.
What happens if the 49ers get behind in this game? Now, they've come back. They came back against the Lions, right? They came back against the Packers. They were a much better team than either of those teams, and the Lions blew it.
Correct.
Okay?
As well as
so
the Packers,
if they in most games under Shanahan, when they get behind, they don't win. They lose.
Correct.
So what happens in this game if they get behind? And look at the Chiefs. Every first drive so far in the playoffs, I believe they've scored either a field goal or a touchdown, right?
I believe so.
So if they get the ball first, good chance they're gonna have the lead.
And that's why I think you got to take it. You got to control the game. You don't want to come out there and say, you know what? We're going to let the Chiefs determine this. And all of a sudden, Kelsey, 3-yard pass. Kelsey, 4-yard pass. Rasheed Rice, 6-yard gain. Kelsey, 2-yard gain. Kelsey. Pacheco, 5-yard run. No, you wouldn't go out there and say CMC, Debo, Kittle, set the tempo, keep Mahomes off the field. If you could chew up 8 minutes of clock on the first drive, that's massive. That's absolutely massive. So that's what I think the 49ers need to do. If you get the coin toss, you take that ball. You set the tempo for how this game is going to turn out to be. Let your defense stay rested.
I think
if they get behind, I will be terrified.
I'd say winning the coin toss for the 49ers is a pretty important part of this game.
People say defer it. No. In this game, you have to send the tempo. Get on the board first. Put the pressure, because I do think the pressure is on the 49ers. 100%, because you're talking about a team who their quarterback has massive questions whether or not he's actually the true MVP of the team and the massive difference maker there, where once again the better said it was CMC. Regardless, your defense has been choking lately. against the Lions. They couldn't stop the run in the first half. The Packers, they were getting picked apart throughout the entire game. It wasn't for a Purdy last-minute drive to seal the game for him. So the defense has had its major concerns. You want to get on offense, set the tempo, put up a touchdown, flip the pressure right back on the Chiefs and say, now you match us. You match what we did. If you score a field goal, we're going to go right back down there and score a touchdown. Go from a 7-point lead, you kick a field goal, that's a 4-point lead, we'll match it, we'll bring it back to up to 11. Set the tempo, get the lead, get this game going under your terms. That's what you have to do if you're the Niners. Don't defer the ball. If you defer it and Mahomes goes down and scores the touchdown, I'm fearing blowout. I'm serious. I'm fearing blowout. Because if the Chiefs get on the run and we see what the Chiefs offense did in that first drive against the Ravens, where Kelsey was just 9 for 9 to Kelsey, I believe. He caught all of his 11 targets, by the way. If they get on some sort of a connection, I'm scared. I'm going to be real. But I just think that this defense will step up. I think I think CMC will set the tempo. I think, there's a chance that, and I bet on it, Debo has a rushing and a receiving touchdown in this game. I think the 49ers are going to win. Like I said, 27-22. And let's bring up the graph again. You have 24-21. Super Bowl 58. I'm glad we disagree. I
makes it more interesting for us.
Just for the sake of the show, I probably should have picked the Chiefs because, like you said, I was not the nicest of people to Brock Purdy. But I just think that if we're talking about talent versus talent, the 49ers are much more talented.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see the 49ers win, actually. But I just think that the Chiefs, just based on watching them and in these playoffs, they're really on a mission. They have the heart and soul of a champion. Yeah. And they won it last year, and they're going to do everything they can to repeat.
They'll be the first
going up against a team that's less experience in the big game, particularly at quarterback, where it means the most. Brock Purdy, never been in a Super Bowl, only a second-year player.
Yeah. And we saw that against the Ravens, where we saw the Chiefs were much more experienced than the Ravens were at that moment in time in the conference championship game. They controlled everything in that game. So maybe the experience kicks in, but I just think if Purdy and CMC and Debo get on this roll, it takes a load off the defense to say, okay, we put up points. If you give up a touchdown, it goes right back to a 0-0 ball game. We're back on offense. We could then go and score again. It takes a little bit of load off the defense. So they're not out there and they start getting cooked by Pacheco or cooked by Kelsey, So they're not demoralized after, 5 snaps. You get out there, you score a touchdown on the first drive, takes a load off the defense. So if I'm Kyle Shanahan, and late, Kyle Shanahan's had some demons in the Super Bowl. Play clock, play calling late in the game. He's had a little bit of, demons when it comes to that. I think the 49ers do get the win, though. I do. Purdy hoists the Super Bowl. Does that make him Brady, Manning, Montana, Steve Young? No. Does it make it? Does it?
Makes him Mr. Relevant. For sure.
Absolutely. No, he can't be called Mr. Irrelevant anymore, unless you want to talk about where he was drafted. But no, this basically all this really does is say, Brock Purdy, you exceeded expectations and you completed a phenomenal season. That puts him at one of maybe the greatest stories in the NFL. Last pick in the draft, winning a Super Bowl in your second year, could have made the Super Bowl in your rookie year, and you only played half the season at that point.
It gives there's somewhat of a comparison to Tom Brady.
A little bit.
Right.
Jimmy G goes down. Yeah. You come in, you do a lot. Although it was Trey Lance goes down, then Jimmy G comes in, then Jimmy G goes down, then you come in and sort of solidify the job.
But it's his second year, and he's in the Super Bowl.
Correct. So,
although he did play a lot last year, and Brady didn't play at all in his first year.
Right. And went 5-11 in that first year, too. So it wasn't pretty. But yeah, that does wrap up this topic. Let's go into the NFL honors now. So last night, the NFL honors was presented with a lot of, I think, expected picks. Lamar Jackson won MVP. CMC won Player of the Year, or Offensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year. C.J. Stroud, Offensive Rookie of the Year, which I believe was expected. You could also say Puka Nacua, who got the other votes as well. You actually got one right in our preseason predictions. We did this. We did the Harvey honors, basically, where we selected who we thought would get these awards by the time the season's over. You got one right. You got Defensive Rookie of the Year, Will Anderson Jr., correct. You were the only one to get one right. Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year. Joe Flacco won Comeback Player of the Year. Who else? Am I forgetting anyone else? Offensive Rookie of the Year, CMC. I think I got everybody. Coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski. I think I'm good with the ones we picked. Offensive player of the year. Yeah, I think we're good. I want to know, do you disagree with any of the winners at the NFL honors?
Yes, I do. First, I'll say I do agree with Lamar being the MVP. I thought he had a great season. Disappointed the way he played in that the AFC Championship game. I'm sure he's still thinking about that. That was they had their chances in that game and just made too many mistakes. Myles Garrett, I disagree with on defense. I think that he had what? How many sacks did he have?
I'll bring it up in a second.
14, I think, something like that.
Myles Garrett had this season hit 14 sacks.
Yeah,
correct.
and the number of all of his stats, every one of them were less than T.J. Watt, and also Micah Parsons. Both those players have better stats than Myles Garrett. I don't understand why he won it. I would have thought it would have been between Micah Parsons and
T.J. Watt.
T.J. Watt. So, what do you think about that? I don't understand. Why didn't T.J. Watt win it? He had a great season.
That is a great question.
I mean, and he was hurt
sure.
part of the season too. He missed some games. So I don't understand why T.J. Watt didn't win it. There's some criticism of that I saw on the internet.
Well, no, the only game T.J. Watt missed this year was the playoff game. He played all 17 games.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Yeah, I'm staring right at it. No, last year he missed 7 games. But
I thought he got hurt as part of this season too.
No, it was only the playoff game against the Bills.
All right, then the rookie Stroud is offensive rookie. I agree with that.
Well, we picked Bryce Young, and I picked who did I pick? I picked Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
Well, Bryce Young's horrible.
Flacco, comeback player of the year. I think is fine. CMC is the offensive player. I think that's
100% true. Yeah.
Coach of the year, Stefanski, I disagree with.
You disagree with that one?
DeMarco Ryan, I think.
I got you. DeMeco Ryan, yeah.
And defensive rookie, even though I picked Will Anderson, I disagree with it. He had 7 sacks.
So who do you think?
Cohee Taylor and Jalen Carter each had 14 sacks. I think it should have been between them. I think Will Anderson had a great season, but I think those other 2 guys had better seasons on defense.
Well, is there one more?
The assistant coach of the year, Jim Schwartz.
Yeah.
I guess that one's okay. I'm okay with that one.
I guess that one's okay. MVP, I picked Lamar to win MVP, so I'm fine with that. Coach of the year. I don't agree with that. And it's mainly for the reason why, main reason is because I picked Dan Campbell to win. If we're talking about a coach that hasn't done something in 3 decades, as well as, I know it doesn't include the postseason, but hasn't done another thing, which is win a playoff game in 32 years. You haven't won the NFC North in 30 years. I don't understand how you're third and you basically get no votes. I think Dan Campbell was like 5th in the voting. Personally, I don't understand that. I think it should have been between Dan Campbell and DeMeco Ryans, because what DeMeco Ryans did for the Texans was incredible. So I definitely think he should have been a part of it. Offensive player of the year, completely agree with that. Defensive player of the year, I picked Jalen Carter, and I think he probably should have gotten it. Will Anderson was the betting favorite the afternoon of the NFL Honors. So yesterday afternoon, I checked on Vegas Insider, and he was the betting favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. Will Anderson was. But I think the way Jalen Carter played, I think he should have. I think he probably should have won it.
I agree with you.
Deron Bland, pick 6 record. He kind of fell off.
So.
Wasn't as a lockdown quarterback. But
Micah Parsons could have. You can make a pretty good argument for him.
He was.
And T.J. Watt for sure. He had the best stats.
Micah Parsons was my pick for Defensive Player of the Year, but T.J. Watt I think also had a very, very good season.
And also, I think T.J. Watt does the most for his defense. Right when he's not in there, that team is. They generally don't win when he's not in there.
The record without T.J. Watt is 1-10.
Yeah.
1-10.
Yeah.
So there you go. I think that wraps it up for our Super Bowl preview show, The Harvey Hour. We thank you all for watching this episode of The Harvey Hour. We thank you for watching, and we thank you for listening. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever else you get your podcast. We'll be back Tuesday to talk about what happened in the Super Bowl. We'll debate whether or not we agree with Super Bowl MVP, I'm sure. Hold on. Make a quick prediction. Chiefs win the Super Bowl. Based on your prediction, who wins Super Bowl MVP?
I think if the Chiefs win, it's Mahomes.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
By the way, I forgot to include this in my little breakdown of how the Chiefs could win. Would you believe, since Taylor Swift was started coming to these games, the Chiefs are 9-3 when she comes.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible that she could make a cameo appearance at halftime at the Super Bowl unannounced?
I'm gonna say no, because she's flying from Japan from one of her concerts. I don't know if her are you talking about like singing performance?
Yeah.
I don't think her and Usher have any songs together, so I don't know if they're gonna play a Taylor Swift song.
Probably not. But it would be cool if it did.
Oh, it would be absolutely. It'd be cool. Well, then the big question is,
Usher doesn't want to be upstaged by her.
I mean, the other question is, will Travis Kelce propose to Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl? That is
If they win.
I have no idea if that's a prop bet on any sports books.
That's
it might
an
be.
Interesting one.
It might
look
be.
that one up. I might bet on that one.
So you're saying Mahomes wins Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah.
I'm going CMC. I'm going Christian McCaffrey.
Could happen.
Well, the last time a running back won MVP, did Marshall Faulk win it?
I don't remember.
What about Eric Dickerson? Did he ever win one?
No, he never won a Super Bowl.
He never won a Super Bowl. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna look this up after the show.
We can talk about it on Tuesday.
I'm trying to think if a running back ever won Super Bowl MVP, because when Peterson won the MVP, Vikings weren't even in the Super Bowl. So Marshawn Lynch didn't win it.
Maybe not. You have to look that up.
Yeah, I have no idea if a running back is one. It definitely hasn't happened in this millennia. So
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see. Super Bowl Tuesday. We break down the Super Bowl, break down plays. You know, if the refs screw it over again, we'll obviously talk about it.
I hope not. I hope that doesn't happen.
Also, I meant to. You told me to mention this after last show. The supposedly leaked CBS scoreboard that they have. It's literally NBC's scoreboard, just CBSified.
Yeah,
it's the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I don't know why scoreboards get progressively worse as the years go on.
It's not confirmed that that's it. Though,
right. But it's a supposed leak. So I mean, you know, my favorite scoreboard. You know, this is a little post-show conversation, I guess. My favorite scoreboard was I don't know when it started, but I remember one year, the 2009 Fox scoreboard. If you think about the 2007 Super Bowl, it was that scoreboard. I'll quickly bring it up for you. I can't bring it up on the show, but the 2007 Super Bowl, or I don't know when it started, but that scoreboard, that Fox scoreboard is my favorite.
I don't remember that. I'm sorry, I don't remember that scoreboard. You could show me a picture of it, then I would tell you what I think.
But with Fox's scoreboard got interesting. They're using like the 3D models now of the logos. CBS. What do you think of CBS's current one? The one at the bottom. It's very simplistic.
I like it better than NBC's. I don't like NBC's because when a flag comes up, it's just a little tiny.
It's just the little yellow thing.
A flag is a big thing. It needs to come up in a big color.
I'm trying to think.
I mean, a big font.
What about Amazon Primes? I'm trying to think of Primes is. I'm not a huge fan. The one that I really dislike now is ESPN's. They have all, like the neon glowing logos. I mean, are we still in the age of neon? I don't think neon's a big thing now. Now you have ESPN jumping into the neon category. Let's see, 2007 Fox NFL scoreboard. I'm trying to find the helmet catch, but it's not working. It's not coming up what I want. I'm wondering.
Maybe we'll show them. We'll show those on the Tuesday show. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh, here we go. You can't really see it very well. It's this one. That's cool. You don't need to read. You got to look at the visual. Yeah, that's my favorite one. I don't know when it started. Oh, 2000. I don't even know. So yeah, CBS leaked scoreboard. Don't know if it's good or bad, or I don't know if it's even true. But if it's true, it's ugly as hell. So
I agree.
It's gonna be. I guarantee you, if that is the scoreboard, it's gonna be blasted. It's gonna be blasted on social media just how bad it is. But yeah, there we go. NBA also. The Knicks only like 6 starters or 6 players because they had the trade that they had. They got Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks. They got rid of Grimes. They got rid of Evan Fournier. The Knicks could be a serious team this year.
Yeah.
Trade deadline happened. No, LeBron did not get traded.
They choked to the Lakers.
Yeah, they did choke the Lakers, and that was like that week when we did the show. I believe like the next day, it was Lakers-Knicks. They had a chance to beat the Mavericks, There's only like 8 players on the roster, like 6 players on the roster. So I don't know if the Mavs are going to do anything this year, but the fact that the Knicks reserves and backups nearly beat the Mavericks starters, a little bit concerning.
Yeah.
Just a little bit concerning. So yeah, NBA action. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. But yeah, Tuesday is a Super Bowl show, Super Bowl recap show. But for this episode of Harvey Hour, like I said earlier, we thank you all for watching. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the hosts of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.